Hi, Kelly here. I just wanted to go over, we're having a live video this afternoon, actually this evening, early evening, 7 o'clock Central Time here. But I wanted to go over all of the equipment that I'm going to be using, so kind of preempt it with a little bit of information, so we don't have to waste too much time going over the information, although I will brief it then. So I'm going to flip it over and we're going to go on to looking at all the items. Okay, so here's my whole studio setup here. These are the 3 canvases we're going to be working on, a white canvas, a black canvas, and a black canvas that I'm going to show you how I control the pour on it, which will end up something not exactly like this, but this is a controlled pour right here. So you can kind of see that the pour went where I wanted it to go. So that's why I call it a controlled pour. So the items that I'm going to be using a little bit of everything on is I mostly use Liquitex, but you can also use Floetrol. So I'm going to list some of the products that I use. When I post this on my YouTube, I'm going to show you the different products that I use. You can also use Mod Podge, or you can even take a giant jug of Elmer's glue and water it down a little bit. Mod Podge is just a runnier version of Elmer's glue. I gesso them. All the canvases are cleanly gessoed with Liquitex gesso. And what we're going to use is the silicone blaster, which is a spray silicone, or you can use silicone drops. And you can use any brand of silicone. Just drop it in, or you can use it as a spray. These are some basic canvases. You can use, I've actually painted over canvases that I used before for other things. So you can reuse and reuse the canvases as much as you need to. The basics paints that I'm using are Basics, which is a Liquitex brand. I am also using Deco Art, Americana. Anything that's an acrylic paint will work. I have Golden, which I'm using in iridescent because I love the iridescent silver. I put that in a lot of things. So even though I'll put in any one of these colors, I usually put the iridescent in with it also. Gives it a real glowy feel. I am using this sort of bluish color. You can't really tell by the cap, but it's sort of a, I guess I want to call it a periwinkle blue color. I'm also using this Golden, and you can see it's iridescent pearl fine. I also put that color into my lighter colors. So even though I'm going to be using Basics and Artist Loft's metallic silver, I add the Golden's iridescent pearl just to give it that little pop, that really beautiful pop. And again, here's another color I'm going to be using, which is the Deco Art Americana. I get, sometimes if you go to Michael's or wherever you are buying artist supplies, you can get these things. Sometimes there'll be a sale and I grab whatever colors I like. I'm more interested in the colors than the actual types of paint that they are. Here's Artist Loft. I'm going to be using these colors. This is another color, and this color also that I'm going to be using. I also have a Blick, which is my base, my basic black. I'm using Mars Black as my base for those, and here are my silvers. So the items that I use, as you can see, it sort of looks a little messy, but it's very organized because all of these paints have been mixed with a half and half mixture of paint to my Liquitex paint conditioner. We'll discuss that later. And I don't use a lot of dark colors, but I do want my colors mixed up, so if I want to do some fun things with them later, I want to make sure I have enough. These colors in here, which you can't really tell in this way, are metallic powders that have been mixed with the conditioner. This is gold. I'll show you those later in the video, the live stream, and this is copper. And these are colors that I bought, believe it or not, down in Mexico, and they're actual colors. So this is actual copper, and this is actual gold that you have to mix with something. You can use it as a gold leafing concept. So this is actual gold that's been mixed with the Liquitex, and this is actual copper. And what I'll do is I'll just stream that in just a little bit because you don't want too much of that. It's very, very powerful colors to add to things, but they're awesome little accent things. And these are my basic color palettes that I'm using. These have all been mixed up with a half paint and half Liquitex, and then I add water to keep it thin. And we're going to look at that consistency later. And these are all my various pouring containers because, I run out of containers all the time. And I'm trying really hard to keep using the same containers, and I clean them as much as I can. They do look a little dirty, but they're cleaned constantly. This paint is very messy. So we're going to talk about how I have the floor all taped out. My drawing board is taped out. Everything has to be completely, you know, sealed off because this stuff will run. My canvases are also, they have thumbtacks underneath them to kind of lift them off the surface so that when we do pour, it doesn't stick to the bottom of the surface. So that's kind of one of those little tips we're going to be talking about later. I have all my different containers with my Liquitex and my water, and of course the most important, one of the most important things is my handy dandy blowtorch. It's actually a kitchen torch, but that we use that for popping the bubbles. I'm also going to bring my blow dryer out and we're going to use that too. So you always have to have these little containers because you're going to be mixing things. I might have a shot later, probably not, but I might need it. I'm going to be hanging out with Stan, so maybe I'll need a shot. I'm not sure. So we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, really. My guest is Stan Young from Action Entertainment, and we're going to have a good time. Here's my color chart. I did a quick color chart. I'm going to label all the colors so you can see them as I go. And, you know, that's basically the rundown of all the supplies. All these little tricks and tools that I have that I use, I'm going to talk to you about, you know, your spatulas and even this little cake spatula. I use that for some things too. So the piece that we're going to be doing is kind of a rendition of that. That's the beginning of a pastel that I'm doing that's going to be very, very detailed. That's just a rough. And I'm going to be doing the same thing on this canvas as a controlled pour. You can't really tell, but this is the basic outline of the horse, and once the pour is done on the horse and the black is there, then I'm going to paint some artwork over it. So just like I've painted here, and I've painted those eyes over the pour, that's a pour there in there. This is all a pour, and then I paint on top of the pour to make it look very, very real. So I hope you guys are gonna see us later. We're gonna have a really, really good time. This is exciting, and it's fun to do a live pour. It's super messy, so we're gonna have a fun time getting super dirty. See you later.